This is Sense Nation. Sense Nation.
The Sense Nation.
Sense Nation. Where we make sense of life and reality. Shiko, you are in Canada as Shiko, right?
Mm-hmm.
Did you meet that time?
No, we met here.
That's crazy. Do you ever talk of stories like, do you ever go here and then you're like the same place, nearly the same time? You're like, how did we ever never meet?
Oh no, it doesn't surprise us. It's a massive country and it's
And you're not even in the same side.
Huh?
You're not even in the same
Yeah,
side.
we were actually in neighboring provinces, which is British Columbia and Alberta, but they were still far apart. Like to get to Vancouver where she was, I'd have to fly out there.
Oh, damn. Okay.
Like it was a 4-hour flight. So it's one of those things.
Do those places have like long distance bus?
They do, but they're crazy. Like these places, these cities are big. Like the country is huge. The country is probably the size of Africa and it's got 30 million people. So there's no people in between. You get my point?
Yep.
Like it's the second largest country after Russia. So I mean,
second largest country after Russia.
in geographical mass.
These are facts that I've never thought of, but since this is like your reality, this is unique like this.
Yeah. Yeah. So like gigs we would go to, like I'd go to gigs from say my town to the next town, to the next big city. It's a 3-hour drive, but it's because it's highway, it's fast. But if it was a Kenyan, between the two those cities it would be 8 hours easily. And because it's dual carriage both ways from Edmonton to Calgary, I think that the distance between the two was like 400 kilometers or something. So like, and these just in one province. So in one province I could drive for 8 hours na sijamaliza province. And you know those highways are fast. I'm driving fast.
Fast.
Yeah, like it's not hapa ati mnaenda mnapata malori nini. I can do 100 easy. So like I'd go to a place called Fort Mac. I do that in 8 hours literally, and that is 800 kilometers away. See, with the stops and everything, I refuel and everything, 8 hours. So you can imagine if it was Kenya, that's 3 days of traveling or 2.
In Kenya, which is your longest distance you've traveled by car?
Driven or driving?
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe when I was a kid, maybe to Tarquin in Kapenguria, thereabouts. Those areas would be.
No, you yourself driving.
Driving?
Yeah.
Nothing, man. I haven't gone far. Nairobi, Bomet, Kisumu. Maybe I've gone deep into Kakamega areas. There. Not much. It's not remarkable. It's not even impressive.
So, if you put it against now just your Canadian experience, that's just
night and day. Canada, I was driving. Sometimes you're driving across provinces for, and this was almost every week because I was now a touring comedian.
Yeah.
So every week I have a gig in a different place. I was lucky if it's in my city. But other times I'm going to Edmonton, that's 3 hours. I'm going to Lethbridge, that's 2 hours away. Medicine Hat, that's 3 hours. And that is still one province like this. Heavy. And then I'll go to Fort Mac, that's 8 hours. That's north. And then Grand Prairie, still the same province, another 8 hours this way. So between Fort Mac and Grand Prairie, it's 8 hours to cross. And then to go up, it's 8 hours both ways. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
And then you cross over, you go to BC, Fort St. John, I'll go for work. It's geographically large. Or you go to, but it was not that stressful to drive. Honestly, driving was one of the most seamless experiences in that country. I never remember getting tired. I used to love driving because naingia tu kwa gari ngurumo na ngurumisho kisha tu kwa city ni kushikilia tu hata unaweka cruise control. Na control tu mpaka hakuna kitu unafanya. Everybody's rarely do you have to take off the sijui kuja chini ya mia like we do here. Lorry. Sijui unaenda ukifanya hivi. Of course you do that there, yeah. But it's a dual road, so one is slow wako left, wako right, nyinyi wa fast mko left.
Personally, I have many conversations with different people. That's you not even planned.
Yeah.
And then you just come sit down and then you're like, whoa, that makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense. So to me, like conversation, communication, there's so much in life. You see even how you put the human resource part. Somebody else said you should not say should not call them staff. Staff sounds like me or machines, like you're probably like you're getting
personnel or something.
Personnel.
I don't know.
There's a phrase that he put, and you're not using one, you should use the other one. But it's
human capital.
Human resource. And resource.
Yeah, okay.
One of the many, but again, you come to the end of it, and you're like, it all boils down to one person to the next person.
Yeah, into relationship.
And even the way you say, get insecure about whatever they do, you're like, why? If there's one thing that I really hated, it's like when you call a friend, like you need help me 5Gs, help me 1K, or like I'm going through this, can you help me with this? And then you call one friend, 2 friends, 3 friends, 4 friends, and everybody's going through the same struggle, and you're like, this sucks. Because even maybe my friend sees my call and be like, hey, thanks for calling, they didn't got a call back 2K. You're like, I wanted 1K, you want 2K or 5K. You're like, so one thing that I usually say was like a blanket, or like the elevation of one part of your blanket, you can hold it in the middle and do this, and the whole thing starts going up, right?
Yeah.
So for me, it's the big idea of something like that. You should rise up, and those around you should rise up. I like how Malaysian says, me and my team, balling on these things and stuff like that. But again, that came to me differently, because life is about that. It's about us, you rise to her, not even to her, but we rise as all, because we're all connected.
Yes.
One and another. Yeah. So the insecurity part, I feel the fear, the weak side, the other side of like love. You just have love, and everything is just working. It protects you. It pushes you forward. Yeah. And for me, I think when these leaders will get to that point, to be like, why did you never do this in the first place?
Yeah, it's so. By the way, our problems are so easy. They're so rudimentary. They're not a lot. All our problems are just about stomach. And we are in a country where there's lots of food, and a lot of them is just about mindset. But it's that thing where people have always been pushed to the wall, so that, because it was good for colonial design. It was a colonial design to begin with. Push them to the wall, leave them here. They cannot fend for themselves, they cannot produce it for themselves. They require this, and that thing was just what is it called by the government? It was inherited and kept on going after the colonialism, in a sense that now people's thinking is always very, now as a result, Kenyans or Africans, people don't tend to think about the tomorrow. Everybody is just about now, me now, eat food, done now. Like, it's the entire, even people's, a lot of, not many people of course I'm saying there's a lot of that thinking that is very perverse in our system, in the way even things are designed. Even ideas are built around that thinking, where it's like, hey, you're building an idea and you're looking at the balance sheet and one financial year long, instead of, these are longer term ideas, and people don't tend to think. And I don't know, of course, I tend to theorize that could be why, like, it was inherited, it's colonial design, but and it's kept on, and it served the people who benefited. They just got complacent, and they're like, if it ain't broke, why fix it? So let these people continue catering themselves with the shockers. So you are fighting over crumbs here. If we end up fighting over crumbs, so we don't look at the person who is doing the crumbs, that he's holding a whole loaf and throwing one crumb at a time. Anatoa hivi mkate anaweka, nyinyi wote mnapigania hapa, instead of looking at the bigger one that they have here. They don't want you, and working towards that, and they don't want you to look at that, and that is the whole point. And it's like, you could just, if everybody ate and could think straight, they would be able to think about tomorrow and actually see what their role in the big picture is. Why public, there's such a thing that people here generally do not view public amenities as their own. That's messed up. Because you think about a road, why do we respect the roads? And everybody respects the roads because we are afraid of being, we are afraid of being punished if we mess the road or if we do something. But it's not because we care about it, it's ours. It's ours. The connection.
Allow us to do business.
Yes, our connection, our discipline between public amenities is very, the relationship that holds us together, that keeps them together, is very punitive. It's not about we're taking it. It's not a stewardship thing where it's like no. Somebody should not be doing that. Mtu anachoma tire kwa barabara kwa nini? Ni barabara yetu. Mtu afanye. It's people saying, choma, it's nobody's road. In their minds, in our minds, we think it like that. You know what I mean?
One of the biggest things is how people litter on the road.
They just litter like that. And now, but on a complaint by that time they're littering. They're like in Nairobi City Council, corruption too. Like kulanga hiyo corruption too City Council. Unajua ubaya yao. Mimi kitu napenda iko na njuga 20 nipatie. Mimi kitu imenichukiza sana ni na unatupa hapo na block hiyo barabara. Acha nitoe.
No, it's true.
Yeah, but I was just illustrating a point.
Yeah.
Like while they are actively ruining it, they are complaining that it's not being taken care of. Who should be taking care of it? You! You're the one who should be taking care of it. You should be calling out people for littering. Unaona mtu mama mboga hapa anatoka na maji imechafu na anakuja na mwaga hapo kwa lami. Ndio wamejenga kibanda hapo yenye hapo. Hata hawa by the way, sometimes you can say hajatengeneza our drainage, but sometimes there's a drainage hapo. Ako drainage.
Kibanda imekuwa flat.
Yes, drainage.
Ndio drainage. Na bado tumoke ende hapo kwa barabara. Na ngemwaga tu hapa.
Na sasa unaona kama hiyo design ingetengenezwa where that ako drainage hivyo ka sink anamwaga hiyo maji hapo. Takataka anaweka hapo ina collectiwa, analipa something. But what they do, hata takataka zitamwagwa hivyo alafu everybody sweeps them away from their shop. Kila mtu anaifagia away from their shop. It keeps going down mpaka mahali hakuna shop ya mtu ndio unaona zimepile up.
Responsibility.
And then kukinyesha hii maji yote inaenda huko imefika drainage ina flood mpaka hao wote hapa juu wanafladiwa. City Council shida yao ni moja, hawakuje kutusaidia hapa.
Thank you for making that aware, because that was one of the major steps that I feel in making sense of life in reality is making these things aware.
Yeah.
As in even with this conversation, with this episode, as in every episode, if somebody makes something aware that you're like, I've never thought of something that they always think of, maybe even it's their job, and like, I've never thought of it like that.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like so most of these people, and I mean, not everybody has the hindsight they should have, but there are people who are tasked with doing that and making sure that this is a thing, including civil education. You know, civic education is civic education in this sense, and that is another problem I've had with government agencies, all the agencies. Sometimes you interact with them like you're with them as for work or whatever, and you find that these people, they have ideas that sound good, and then they tell you the vikwasos, the challenges they felt, and you realize the challenges they dealt with when they were trying to execute this good idea. You realize, the problem still was you, because the only thing you are all used to is enforcement. There is no engagement. There is never any public engagement, because you know sometimes when they think about. Remember, there was a time when there has been times where the police have complained about something, or I don't remember. Another one was it NTSA, one of those safety companies, entities, and they were coming up with some ideas that sound good. When you look at it on paper, I think it's a memo that leaked. They were thinking about doing annual inspections for vehicles for the sake of safety or something. There was something noble behind it, but there was outrage. Because why? First of all, the public does not trust them. We don't trust them to be. We know their enforcers are people who will always extort us for bribes. So first things first, any idea they come up with, we know they're trying to use it to make money. That's the only interaction we've ever had with them.
After like 4 weeks, they'll be like, where is
kutakuwa na roadblocks hapo,
kutoa pesa,
utafanywa inspection. Hii ni 2,000, 1,500 or 5,000, whatever it is. That is our worry, and justifiably so, because that's what we always deal with. But maybe that's not even what they were going for. They were not going for something like that exactly. They were going for something different. But because I don't know if they have public engagement departments, all they have is public relations, and public relations are generally about manipulating perception. It's never about actually
Whoa.
creating the communication that is there. It's about just I don't know if that's how they're trained, but they are all about optics, how it looks like, not what it is, how it looks like, right?
System.
So I'm like,
System.
yeah. So I'm always like, okay, fine. It's fine to have a PR for that purpose, but they should also have an engagement for the in-depth and the in-depth connecting those dots, like between the public goodwill and the brilliant ideas that they had, the implementation of that idea to support. There needs to be an engagement department of sorts that actually creates that engagement, and not just the usual public participation for the sake of ticking boxes, but actually getting those opinions and actually understanding and letting them understand the actual vision behind these things that they are coming up with, why they are trying to do it, what the philosophy of it is, how they hope to, what policy they are going to use to execute it, right? Because it's not just, you don't just want an idea that is going to be half-baked, and those things usually lack. So it's usually like engagement. It's usually engagement is missing. So what they do is they do even the surveys, public participation are like just surveys they do, and then they roll out a thing out of nowhere. Just social media. It's big. It's life-changing. It changes the way you operate fundamentally. It's gonna annoy you because it's discomfort. It's gonna annoy you obviously, and it fundamentally changes how you operate. And they are saying it's coming on board next week. Style up or fuck off. You know what I mean? And they don't care. And if you refuse, they will be there with police. Watakuwa na roadblocks hapo wakifanyia maneno hapo. There hasn't been no time for education. There's no rollover, changeover. These are things. The engagement can even take a year, switching over from the old system to a new system. It could take time. It's not a thing that you do overnight. It's growth. But you see why they are doing that is because they are concerned about right now. Their results are for this year. This guy is gonna be out of office in 6 months or whatever. So they are not doing anything for the sake of 10 years to come. They're doing it for expediency, for today only. That creates a big problem that we keep dealing with. We keep clashing with public agencies. I mean, there is of course disingenuity. Of course, they have their own problems to begin with. I'm not saying they're saints or anything, but some of the times, I feel like some of the ideas they come up with, even if they didn't come up with it out of goodwill, I feel like we as a public, there should be a way for us to run with those ideas when they are good. When they are bad, we can trump them, but when they are good, there should be a way we can run with them and hijack them and just own them the way we should be owning every public thing.
Check this out. As much as you're doing that, we should also know what to let go.
Yes.
As much as we need to cut something and run with it. The
should also
bad
be
that's not working,
should be let go.
The power, because it takes so much power to be able to let go of something. Tell somebody, stop doing this. Stop. Acha kumwaga maji hapa hivi. You need so much power to be like, try kumwaga hapa hivi, nafanya hapa hivi na. It still takes so much to just let go. Let go, just not being carefree. Let go, just not just doing stuff.
Exactly. And all those things usually happen incrementally, like including the civic education that will follow, the what do you call that? The PR that will follow, the engagement that they are supposed to be doing. Usually during the COVID thing when it was breaking out, I was reading some comments about some place in a city that I used to live in Alberta, and they were talking about they showed some videos of around the late 80s when they were mandating that from now onwards, every person driving in an automobile should wear a seatbelt. That's law. If you get caught without a seatbelt, you get a ticket, you get a fine, right? And it saved so many lives, and it's a big way of life now in that place, whereby as soon as you get in the vehicle, you belt up, you drive. And the people who resisted those times, no, you can't tell me what to do. So many people fought, but for you, it's a common sense thing, right? But it's because it came heavy. There's gonna be some pushback, but it takes time and then eventually everybody's now like, of course it's the right thing to do. Of course, why would you not do that? And it's the same thing we're feeling with masks right now. People are like, but eventually it will be like, okay, it's the best way to avoid this corona thing, man. I hate corona, man. I hate it.
It's crazy.
I even use this.
I usually look at life based on what you've been exposed to.
Yeah.
So you by having that experience, because basically for me I'm Kenyan local, right?
Yeah.
So right now I'm seeing the roads being really getting somewhere,
Yeah,
and I'm,
better.
you know, and then like so it's jazzing me so much. But now I had an uncle who came from Canada, and when you're making the superhighway, he was like, it's a good thing, but this is Canada 100 years ago. I was like, have you ever felt?
Shit. We've been lowered.
But still, that because that happened some time back. With Bika superhighway, that's
when it was coming back. Yeah.
When I look at it right now, I'm just like, growth is such an individual thing that you can never skip something. You can never get to the roads of Canada without us getting through this.
Yeah.
So even with that comment, I was like, it is a nice thing when you've gotten to this point right now.
Yeah.
So you can at least get to better and better roads.
Yes.
So at least right now we're seeing the expressway. Again, I hope it's something that
I hope it changes something for us.
And
I do wish that expressway was done between intercity instead of Nairobi. I feel like Nairobi is a cancer that should not keep getting treated. It's been fucked over. It's been unplanned. The planning has been mutilated. Like, even if they want to reclaim it, and every time they want to reclaim it, bring it back on track, it's just it creates another humanitarian crisis that was completely avoidable if there was enforcement in the first place.
There was planning. They followed even the plans.
Yeah. So they didn't follow the plans. People were bribed and plans were discarded. People built on rivers. People did this. Now people are being affected by some corruption that happened a few years ago, and I'm like, Nairobi is a gone case. Honestly, we should burn the city and go. Like, you know what I mean? Like, not burn it in that sense. I feel like
you've gone so far. We've gone.
We're too far gone. We can still try and fix it, but there will be too much pain for no reason.
No, let me put it like, there's so much work.
It's so much work.
Putting things in place back to how they were supposed to be in the first place.
Too much work. Too much. It's better to just begin in another city. So you see now, right now, that bypass to the airport, Westlands to the airport. In my opinion, it's a lot of money we're using to do that, to create a road on top of a road, and to solve what problem exactly? What are we solving? Traffic jam. This traffic is so man-made. First of all, we could have been building a more public transportation system. If it was a rail system, a train rail system, that's developing in my ocean to discourage people from driving around, to do things another way.
Yeah.
I feel like we could have been being progressive instead of building how many dual carriage highways between Kisumu and Nakuru, from Mombasa and Nairobi, or Nairobi and Eldoret, or even just Garissa and Isiolo. That could have been done with that, with the money we were spending on this toll-free highway, the expressway, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it's too much. You're trying to help. You keep giving. It's like Nairobi, as in the beginning, it was centralized too much. It was a mistake, obviously, but they did it for the railways, and they underdeveloped it by design during the colonial times. I think it was better to underdevelop the rest of the country, leave Nairobi to be the one. For whatever reason, but now I'm feeling like let's develop other areas. Forget Nairobi. So I feel like even the tax center should be moved to Kisumu, or KRA or something. They had HQ. Go to Kisumu. Get which other government agency? Take it to Mombasa. Another agency, take it to Isiolo. Another one, Bomet. Another one, or Kericho, or wherever. You know what I mean? Like, so that not everything. So reduce this population to a population. It will even take care of that humanitarian problem we might be having, because now the low-income people will have a chance at a nice life in those cities. They'll go and follow the rules there. Right? Like they live within the zones there, the zoning. They'll be able to afford to comply with the zoning. Here, they cannot even afford to comply with the zoning, even if they want to. So now what are we going to do? Let them go so that we can now bulldoze those many buildings that will be what do I do? You open up the spaces.
And there's already a place where these people are going. So
yes.
It's just not bulldozing and
yes.
then you're left out there.
Out to dry, yeah.
hata hizi ita serikali ni serikali
ndio wanakubulldoze. Where's ita serikali?
Damn.
It's messed up, and I feel like it's just lack of priorities. They do these escapist solutions. You know, you're trying to cure a symptom instead of solving the actual problem.
How did you get to this? What drove you to this point of even knowing just looking at this problem and even just looking like, yo, you can move all these things out of Nairobi. Why are you doing the Expressway? What got you to that point? Because again, you know, for a person like me, politics and you know, so many things I don't follow. I think my own life is already too busy for me. And to solve my issues, trying to afford this life. But now, and to me, it looks like the Expressway is something. But I've been hearing a lot of
those complaints.
Yeah, complaints and the like. So I want to get educated because now that's very interesting, and I just want to know, like, how did you get to that point?
First of all, it's not even politics is day-to-day life, and I also don't actively follow the bickering politics. I'm just interested in the general resource picture, you know, because I mean, we're living in a public space. I'm an observer, right? I observe things. I encounter those problems. I encounter traffic. I encounter the problems that are caused by traffic. I encounter these things, and I also just generally try and think around those things, like everything about life. Even when you look at my comedy, it's just a discourse from life. I just take it. I just make it silly on the side, but really the central point is there, right? And so things like that, when I see what gets me to that point, I don't know, it's just frustrations, and plus, and then I have the benefit of having seen these things working elsewhere, whereby in other places you realize, they don't have to have all the same places in one place. They don't have to cram everything in one place. Why? Because these government agencies don't work together to begin with anyways. The amount of red tape they do between each other, the way they are requiring themselves. Yes, those things.
You're not doing your work.
Yes.
And yet it's their work supposed to be doing.
Yes.
What's happening?
The amount of that doing that, so there is no benefit at all for their geographical proximity. They should not be proximate. There is no reason for it. I mean, the bickering will continue regardless. So why not let them bicker in different places?
And now, because of bickering, we have MCAs, and since now those are local and county places.
Yeah.
I don't know how far they've been, but from the last time I looked at the situation of MCAs, they bicker a lot and still don't do anything. And now that it's decentralized. It's not decentralized. It's not Nairobi.
And it's because here's another thing. The MCAs, we have a problem whereby people don't run for office to do the work of the office. They are looking for jobs. If those people had a different purpose in life, they would probably not be interested in those office positions. Because all they want is just to eat. Like literally, sick buyer, and it's not their fault. They've been doing stuff. Yeah, it's just their way of. In our system, it's been for so long, politicians have been the richest, such that somebody when alikuwa anafanya kazi gani and you become popular in one way or the other, your way of actualization for that in that context is running for office. Once you run for office, they know diddly squat about resource management. They don't know anything about about governance, about how to share resources, why the roads are our roads. Most of them don't know, and even if they do, there's too much cultural problems in those systems themselves, within those systems, because they are already so messed up. You can't move. Even if you're a nice person and you run for office because you want to solve it, I can guarantee you will fail, because even if it's just you alone or there's somebody else, because there's already bureaucrats pencil pushers over there who don't want things. Unajua hii nimefanya for 15 years, hapa ndio hivyo ndio tunafanyanga. It's been wrong all those years. You should not have been doing that, but they unajua hapa hivi ndio tunafanya hii maneno. And the main problem, and to unclog a system, you need a stronger force from the top from the inlet of the drain. Who would that be? The leadership. That's why you hear people talk about political goodwill, that kind of stuff. Because if the guy in charge doesn't give a crap about what happens in the office, bora alipe mshahara yake, bora ile tenda yenye alisukuma ilipwe so that he can get his 10%. They don't care about how the system works most of the time. They're the same people again. So they're just looking to eat. And I don't mean eat in the sense of to be greedy. I mean like they have hungry stomachs. They're trying to actualize.
They have bills to pay.
They have bills to pay.
They have houses and school fees and just day-to-day things.
Yes,
but now they're in the position that
they could be looking not day to day. They should be looking decade-wise. Mbele na nyuma. They should be looking, they should be looking at the future because you are leading. So you should be looking mbele because there's no path here. You should be creating the path by looking ahead. But they are the same ones. You saw that picture that was posted in the group. They are the same ones eating around the crumbles here with everybody else.
Yeah.
Instead of moving people forward, wako hapa chini hata hao wanasema wanatafuta hizi zenye ziko hapa. But because they are in charge of these nuts that are here that they should be distributing, ndio wanakula because they don't know huko mbele tokaje. They are not looking mbele. They are not thinking about that.
We don't have visionaries.
They are not very visionary. Now that being said, even with the Expressway, I tend to disagree a lot. I have a very weird relationship with the way the government does things because I agree with what the general sentiment is, and I do not agree with how they do it or what they do. Like when they say the Expressway, for example, you hear the president saying, we are trying to bridge an infrastructure gap because there was like a period of 2 decades in this country that infrastructure was not being developed. You should have been happy. That is true, I get that.
Yeah.
But you cannot force that. You cannot do that like a magic bullet. You don't have a magic bullet for that. You can't fix it in 2 days. It still has to be incremental.
What is this thing called? When you have goals, they have to be there's a breakdown.
Measurable, smart.
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 Yeah,
measurable, and they have to be realistic.
Realistic.
So these projects are not realistic in the fact that where we are versus where we are going. One of the biggest even problems we have in this country is the obsession with the material things at the expense of human development. People are not nothing here. They are not considered important. One of the biggest resources we have as a country is people, labor. But there is no leverage on that. The government doesn't leverage on that at all. The most they can do is use them. Be like, we are organizing this expressway. We'll employ people to come and mikono too. That's nothing compared to what the country has in terms of human resources. Yeah, so human development, that would mean things like cultural development, education, there has to be robust approaches to those institutions that deal directly with people.
Actually, I like when you put it like that because as Sense Nation, we're trying to make sense of life and reality.
Yeah.
Why? To make life and reality better.
Yeah.
Because, and I like when you say we are focusing on material and not human development. And at the end of it all, I actually come and find that is what people do, get to the point of you'd rather cut somebody's leg just for you to get ahead,
to get
or something.
Not even get ahead, get some money or something, an opportunity that will give you material things, right? And it doesn't make sense to now mizana for nothing. And one of the other biggest illustrations you'll see in the last 10 years, since CDF and all those things came, there has been a rush by people, certain people in MPs and leaders, to say, development. Our idea of development is building hospitals, building schools, building this, building that, and they build them, and then there are no people to run these schools, there are no people to run the hospitals. The doctors are not being paid properly. That is a crisis that it's legitimately, they should be looked at, right? Educationists, they should be looked at legitimately, right? They are going to build stadiums, but there are no athletes. Athletes are not being developed. Develop them. Develop the athletes. They will even be the ones to pull the money that will build those stadiums. Develop the talent first. And then the talent will bring forth whatever is needed for their talent to thrive. Right now, you're just You're just doing this thing where you're diagnosing a problem from way up you can't. You're like up in the stadium, up in it. Who tells you they running on the roads? These people, they're doing well. Now develop them. Why Jenge how the people develop these. You know how many? There's few athletes we know here that are popular, like footballers and runners and stuff. But do you know how many we don't know? Like the leagues in I don't know Kariobangi or somewhere. The leagues, the football leagues that are there in those
even high school leagues and
that forget it. Those ones are different. I'm talking about professional, not professional, but I'm talking about grown up like leagues that ukienda Dagoretti Kona hiyo area kina Oliech, they have football leagues. So many, they are so underfunded. Those people have to do other things at the same time while they are doing that.
and trying to do sport.
Yes.
That is so hard.
Yes. How many running camps are there? Forget the Captagas that attend. There are many other small ones in different places and thousands of athletes who are just wallowing. And I'm like, not everybody is a world star athlete, but they still provide the athletic maybe that. So if we had systems developed to build those
The human
capital of that thing, to build those people there, you'd be surprised at what it could do.
Yeah, no, you really brought something that I've never even looked at it like that. We're making the schools, we're making the hospitals, but again,
Who's running?
yeah, who's as in like behind all that? Yes, there's a school here, but it doesn't have life. It doesn't have. There's somebody who said they have a 50-year plan, down to everything. Even if they die,
Yes.
it is known of what is supposed to happen. I'm like,
Yes.
this is a person protecting his legacy like that.
Yeah.
I'm like, how about now just hospitals, schools,
Yes.
all this, and yet here he strikes every time.
Yes.
Time you're like, whoa! If you can, everybody can get just to the point of earning of what they
Yes.
do,
Yeah.
because there's a hospital already, there's a schools already.
Yeah.
Just make the system of the people. Then the people are just that has blown my mind, because that's life and that's reality of a person. This
Yeah, and it's not politics. It's politics, but it's not politics in the sense that we know.
Can you imagine? I met somebody from a company, and how they act and react to everything that we had during that time gives me the picture of the company. I hate a company because of how one person did, and I came to realize, do you know, a company is the person that you meet.
Yeah.
So by the time
The face.
the
face and the personality.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yes, this is the face and
The personality of the company. Yes. Representative. Yes.
This is if it's Coca-Cola. You're like, this is how Coca-Cola people are like. You treated well by one person. You'd be like, that company is good.
Yes.
I've never been treated well by a person like that. They took me well through the whatever.
Yeah.
And then meet a person who's doing all crazy stuff. You're like, leave that company alone. You come and tell me, oh, I wanted to. I'm like, hey, don't do that.
Yeah.
Don't get into business with that person just because of one person who I've ever met and they just did something.
Yes.
So that is just really getting me to be so trippy about, like, companies. Company is the person who sets out to go outside.
We sent to go and represent the rest of the people.
So if that is already wrong, I'm just like, the company will go down because of just the person, and yet the person is the one who's not been developed far enough to even understand what they do. Company.
Their role in the big picture.
Yeah.
There's a big picture of everything, and then there's that role that this is what you play. This is the string you pull in this thing that we are rolling forward.
And it's so trippy because even as I do interior design, I think I've mentioned to, like, my fundis, or you get to a fundi, you're like, I need you to help me finish this project like this.
Yeah.
But again, you cannot just come in, and you need me because I need to input something so that we both can work on something and get a finished product. Like,
yes.
Whoa. I'd be like, from my side, I did what I needed to do. From that side, they did what they needed to do.
Yes.
And since we're all working towards money, I make sure my side I do it well, their side they do it well, get done. Here's your money, here's my money for the work.
That is the work done. Yeah.
So I get the connection of they don't get to do their stuff, I do my stuff,
Yeah.
still half done.
Yes, it's still
I still need to get somebody to get to
Yeah.
do the other part
The other
because
part.
again, I cannot do everything.
Yes. Yeah.
And that's just usually the trickiest thing where I come to the point of we are also connected that if you never get to do this thing, align this thing and get to connect the way you're supposed to connect,
And that is
we'll always have issues.
and you see that one you just described what every leadership problem should be. Like a leader understands the system, everybody understands their part in the system, they get the big picture, and then they get the the incremental steps they'll have to take as an individual to make the big picture happen. All you have to do, kazi yako tu ni hama kugonga hapa. That's all your job, because these natives are coming at that fast pace, and it's your job to just hammer them. And it's the job of the leader to make sure everybody knows that. Otherwise, we have people hammering left, right, and center, hammering, breaking things that somebody has already built up because they are not understanding what is supposed to be happening. Mgui, the leg of the thing is, and that is one of the problems that you see leadership doesn't. Maybe they don't understand, or they intentionally sabotage. Here's even another theory, because you look at all the people that are in lots of leadership positions. They're usually very brilliant in general.
Yeah.
They are brilliant. So the only assumption you can have is sabotage, because their private enterprises are doing very well. But they like to sabotage the public enterprises they are in charge of for the sake of I don't know, whatever they are benefiting from. I really don't know.
I don't understand.
Could be keeping people subjugated, keeping them poor because it's not good if they advance. I don't know. Because sometimes there's a very scarcity mentality that some of the tyrannical leaders in the past have had, whereby it's like. It was very, what was it, Stalin? It's very Stalinesque in a way, or not Stalin, there's another one. Or is it, I forget. But whereby you want them to starve so that they are beholden to you at all times. You like people starving because they keep needing from you. And that's one of the problems that a lot of, the psychotic leaders that this continent has had in the last couple of decades do, where they like, yes, I could make you prosper, but that means my position, I'm too insecure for you to prosper. So my position will be compromised if I let you prosper. So what I'll do is I'll keep you hungry. I'll chapa kiboko. Keep you down so that I can keep you in line.
But I'm like, what do you think the position is getting compromised by? What do you think why do you think they feel insecure? Because at the end of it all, I usually get to a point of...
Sometimes I think it's a personality issue. Some people are just generally insecure, and they are insecure, or they are not visionary enough. So what they have very simplistic solutions to their problems, and if they can foresee a problem, they can probably not foresee the solution to it being real. So what they'd rather do is prevent that problem from being real by keeping people down, because the moment everybody is not hungry, they'll be able to start pointing out these things that are not good. That makes the problem real, right? Like you're talking about disproportionate wealth or ownership of wealth or land that was gained, poor libwa nini. If we were to wake up and say, wait, what shamba moja imeenda kwa mtu, what's happening? Or why is this? Why does somebody have so much money and it doesn't
add up?
Yeah, it doesn't add up. We start asking those questions. It's easier for them to be, instead of us, those questions continue being asked, they'll be like, well, when you're when you representative, so umeongea in front of those people, so what can we do? Here's what I have to do for you. Nikona kabahasha shika. And this idea, I see your life, you need some help. That's you're sabotaging the process, of course. It's because now there's some foul play. Even though some of these things they can be solved with amnesty. That's another problem that I usually have with where there's the general attitude here to solve everything is like must pay. I'm like, sometimes it might be beneficial to just let it go and let them just put them some rules for them to make sure these things are productive for us. Then be pure, like instead of like, listen, maybe you'll give us that land and we'll live and mismanage it because we are so disorganized. We don't know, but you've figured out a way for it. Only thing that happens is you'll be paying taxes this much, 60-70% of taxes because it was not yours to begin with.
Sure.
you bring back that money? Because what do you want, a win-win or lose-lose?
One of my biggest things are like these things of demolitions.
Yeah,
You know, sometimes when they demolish something, demolish so much, and then nothing is built or nothing. You see, as in like you're
it's
waiting
very
for
zero
progress.
sum.
Exactly.
It's like let's all lose.
Or like Westlands. Like Westlands, the market. You remember the Masai market?
Yeah, I missed it.
You missed it. No, this is iconic. Sarit, as you're driving to Sarit.
Oh yeah, I remember that one. Yeah,
You
yeah, yeah,
remember
yeah,
that
yeah,
one?
I saw it.
Like when that was being demolished, it was demolished and it stayed so long before the new store where they were supposed to go was completed. This is Sense Nation. Sense Nation.
The Sense Nation.
Sense Nation.
Where we make sense of life and reality.